My dear friends, first of all, my very sincere thanks to all those who sent greetings and gifts on the occasion of my birthday last Friday. These were most unexpected, but so warmly appreciated. It turned out to be a rather busy day with a number of meetings by Zoom and then ensuring that our new technologies to keep in contact with you all were in readiness. However, on Friday evening, Father Anselm and Father Joey cooked a wonderful meal, and together with Shane, one of our seminarians currently residing with us, we celebrated with much fanfare. Last Friday was also the 59th wedding anniversary of Connor and Leela McCreaton, so our warmest congratulations to them and our best wishes to all their family. Sadly, early on Sunday morning, Antonella Foti's mother, Dora, passed away over in Liverpool, having had a major stroke several days ago. So we extend to Antonella and her family our deepest sympathy at this sad time, and we assure her and her family of our prayer. We have been greatly encouraged by the very positive feedback to the live streaming of Mass and our twice-weekly bulletins to everyone. If you know of anyone who is not receiving these but who would very much like to, be sure to give Jackie in the parish office their emails. We're now reaching about 400 people, which is tremendous. Recently, Archbishop Fisher recounted how this is the 5th time in Australian history that Mass has not been able to be celebrated publicly. For 15 years, from 1788 when the colonists arrived, from 1804, after a period in which the convict priest Father James Dixon had been permitted to celebrate Mass publicly, from 1818, after Father Jeremiah Flynn had been allowed to celebrate Mass in the colony, during the Spanish flu epidemic in 1919, and now. It seems the situation arises once in a century. But on each occasion, the Catholic community in Australia has remained faithful, as it will now. As I shared in my homily last Sunday, St. Edith Stein, the Carmelite nun murdered in Auschwitz, wrote in her diary in 1942, "We are calm and cheerful. Of course, so far there has been no Mass and no communion. Maybe that will come later. Now we have a chance to experience a little how to live purely from within." And now, in our time, Pope Francis has said to us, "Lord, you are calling on us to seize this time of trial as a time of choosing. It is not the time of your judgment, but of our judgment. A time to choose what matters and what passes away. A time to separate what is necessary from what is not. It is a time to get our lives back on track with regard to you, Lord, and to others." Well, may our help in this be St. Martin de Porres, one of the great patrons of our parish family, and in whom I've entrusted the care of our community during this time. Although he lived in the latter part of the 16th and early 17th centuries, a long way away in Peru, Martin is the most remarkable witness to us for our own time. Born in difficult circumstances, the son of a Spanish nobleman and a freed slave woman of African Native American descent, as a young teenager he learned the medical arts available at the time. Funnily enough, barbers and surgeons were regarded as the same profession at his time. And when Martin was 34, he was placed in charge of the monastery infirmary, in which he worked for the next 25 years until he died. There he became distinguished for his care and compassion, not only to the other friars, but also to the many who came to the infirmary for healing. And it was during this time that an epidemic struck Lima, the capital of Peru. The people of the city went into isolation just as we have. But Martin's care reached beyond the confines of their isolation. The stories of miracles that have been passed down through the centuries about Martin are all really at root at the service of conveying the truth behind Martin's declaration that he made once when he said, "Compassion, dear brother, is preferable to cleanliness." And so with Martin's example, let us too look always for those ways to exercise compassion, even from the confines of the physical distancing that is required of us now for the protection of everyone. And that indeed we might be surprised at the power of love, or the creativity of love, as Pope Francis calls it, to overcome the obstacles that we currently experience. We have now begun Holy Week, the holiest week in our Christian year. The central dynamism of our Christian discipleship is acted out through each of the days of this week, culminating in the proclamation next Saturday of Christ, the light of the world. The death and resurrection of Jesus is the paradigm of each of our journeys, dying to the instinct for self-preservation, self-protection, self-defense, self-justification, all of which enclose us in on ourselves out of fear, and rising to a life lived with, through, and for others, a life of love. We die to fear, we rise to love. And it's in the daily battle to which we have committed ourselves as disciples of the risen Lord, who has shattered the fetters of our fear, and who in so doing has opened up for us a new future. In this week, we become especially mindful of this. And in this week, in the midst of this pandemic, we must become even more mindful of it. In this time of relative solitude and reflection, we may hear our fears. But let us also never forget the future, the new future, into which we are being called and always will be by the Christ who has triumphed over death and given creation its deepest possibility.